I'd like to call the Monday, August 7th, 2017 Sister Cities Commission meeting to order. Roll call's been completed, right?
Yes, it has been.
Could we get approval of the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, 2 changes.
Okay,
Under 7, new business A,
okay,
letter 1, John will present today because he's back from Germany.
Okay.
And number 2, his second editorial has been sent to the newspaper rather than will be.
okay. So with those 2 changes, a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Approval of minutes from the July 10th, 2017 meeting.
A motion to approve the minutes of July 10th, 2017.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Financial statement. We need approval of that. I think the only thing that went in there was our income from the brat stand. I picked up and gave to Lisa a few weeks ago. So with that, can we get approval of the financial report?
Move adoption.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Unfinished business, our inbound, Anna. We do have September, October host family. November was open. I had contacted Eric and Bodie and his new wife, Casey, and they just sent me a text today that it won't work for them this time, so we just need to find someone. And I know we have Carol and some other people have contacted me. Vicky's talked to me. They have other people in mind, so. But it'd be nice to get somebody in from that hype group again or something. But we'll work on November. We got plenty of time. We do have the welcome reception for Anna September 11th at the Kegel Club. Meeting will be held prior, and then the reception. Are, John, you able to come down to that? It'd be awesome if you could.
Sorry, what was the date?
September 11th?
I think I sent you that. You said you maybe couldn't because of PTO.
Right.
Okay. We'll just give you the date, and if it works, it'd be great to have you down here. We do have unfinished business. Appoint a member to oversee the Advent calendar 2017 from Commissioner Minch.
Nobody has said anything definite yet, and they should start working on it.
Okay.
Whoever it is, Carol Lightman mentioned possibility, but she's not here. So someone should start, and I've had some changes at work, so I don't know how much I'll be involved right now.
Okay.
It could also be a couple of friends that.
If they're
Yeah.
picking it up, yeah,
I
So
think
you
so
could
too.
continue to do it, right?
just for this year.
Okay.
But
After
it
that,
could
no.
be friends.
Like a
from the city.
commissioner should really, I think, be part of it,
Mhm.
really.
Right.
To make it official from the commission. It should be a commissioner at least.
Could we do it as a, how many business signs are there? 25?
25.
Okay. Would it be a possibility to have the whole commission do it and everybody take a couple? Make it a little easier? Or is that too complicated?
If the left hand knows what the right hand is doing.
Okay.
I mean, it sort of goes that way with other things. If everybody's doing their own thing, you don't know what's going on. I think you need a point person.
Okay.
So that if they have a problem or a question, that person's in charge, and that's really worked well that way. If you have too many people doing it,
Okay.
you could lead to confusion. It's up to you. I mean.
I'll be
it's-
involved, but you also said Carolyn had an
She-
interest?
No, Carol Lighton had
Carol.
mentioned the possibility, but she only has 1 year left on the term also, so.
Any of our new members want to assist?
Well, if Carol would, I mean, we could follow afterwards.
I don't know, but she did not commit herself. She just says maybe, but she didn't want to
Okay.
do it alone the way it sounded that time.
I'll work with you, Jag. Let's pick a time and sit down,
Okay.
figure it out, and then we'll grab some others to come in on
Okay.
it. Okay. New business. Our exchange person is back. John, welcome back. He will conduct his presentation here, and you can take it away right now. It's all yours.
First off, my thanks to the commission for inviting me here tonight. I just got back on Saturday morning after there were some storms in New York that delayed a bunch of flights, and I spent a couple hours at the ticketing counter, but got things figured out and came back Saturday morning, so I'm still working through jet lag and, yeah, getting my feet back on the ground. So, for those of you who may not know me, my name is John Bregelman, and I was am, I guess, the Hansjo's exchange intern. I went over to Germany this summer for 3 months and worked 2 different internships, one at the Robert Bosch Schule, which is similar to a high school, kind of a prep school for career training and university students. And then I also worked with a city department, it's called the Staatsabteilung Umweltrecht und Gewerbeaufsicht, and that is environmental rights or law and industry oversight. That's more similar to what I do in Minnesota nowadays, which is working with soil and groundwater contamination, doing investigations and cleanup. So it was really fun to be on the kind of government side of it, the people who are giving the green light on all of these projects instead of being on the side of the private firm that's leading the investigations. So I'll just kind of jump right into it. This is by no means a polished presentation. I just wanted to give you guys a overview of what I was up to. I did climb the Münster one time, but only once. I actually went up top with Anna Nusser, who is the incoming Praktikant intern from Bernstadt, which is near Ulm. We struggled, but we made it. People say there's a little bit of a rivalry between Ulm and Neu-Ulm, and people say the best thing about Neu-Ulm is the view of Ulm. I turned it around with this picture, giving a nice view of Neu-Ulm. So that's the Donau below, flowing right to left, and you can see there's the Spitze of the public library, and the Rathaus would be right here. And I think Zenden would be down here in the distance somewhere. That was about a 15-minute drive from the city center where my host family lives. So I'm going to go through some of these highlights mainly with pictures and just kind of talk about the things that we were up to. First off, the Tietz family, my host family, was the best host family that I ever could have imagined. They took me in with open arms, taught me a bit of the Swabian dialect, took me along to family events, provided for me, but also gave me space to have my own experiences. So they were absolutely awesome. Yeah, they really welcomed me into the family, which was really nice. They had some nieces and a nephew, younger kids, that were really cool to hang out with. Hearing a foreign language from a younger speaker is really interesting because it's slower, it's a little bit more simple, it's not always correct, so it's fun picking up on Fehler, mistakes that they have, yeah. I'm still getting back into English. I had 2 great visits that were kind of set up through Gerhard Christ, who's living in New Ulm. Through his family, his mother's sister's daughter, so that would make her his cousin, right? Cousine. In Neusass, which is east of Ulm. Wolfgang, her husband, is a hunter and a fisher. I wrote my first article about him and my time with him, so you may have read that already. But it was really interesting to see the hunting in Germany, how strictly it's regulated, and hear some of his tall tales. And it's the exact same hunters and fishermen in Germany. The fish was this long. By dinner it's this long, the next week it's that long. Same thing. They had an acquaintance in Austria who was kind of a mineral man, geologist, head of the Mineral Association in this village in Austria. I studied geology in school, so I thought that would be really interesting to go on a Mineralienwanderung, he called it, a mineral hike, I guess. So you go hiking with picks and hammers and tools and go looking for fully formed minerals up in the mountains. I got to go to an Ulmer basketball game, which strangely enough is very, very big in Ulm, Neu-Ulm. They wear orange jerseys. They've been number one the past couple of years, but got knocked out of the finals this year, lost in the last round. Anna Nusa, again, the incoming intern, plays handball, and she took me to a match in Göppingen. It was awesome because Göppingen was ranked 9th against Flensburg, number 2, and they upset them and won, so the mood was, the atmosphere at the game was awesome. Then I also joined an ultimate frisbee team for my time there called Ulm Team Mats, so a play on Ulm and ultimate. And I went to a tournament with them in France for a weekend. I had a ton of work-related experiences, mainly set up through my supervisor, Dr. Christina Schenk. We did a lot of traveling to other cities to look at the construction sites and contaminated sites that those city departments are working on. Then I also got some of the Ulm culture through the Drachenbootrennen is dragon boat races. Schwörmontag, of course. Nabada, and not listed there, but also very important, is Fischerstechen, which was once every 4 years, so I really got lucky this summer that it was taking place. There's my host mother, brother, and grandma. And my host grandma was really sweet. She spoke more slowly with me, but also kind of held on to her Swabian accent. So I asked her if I could do some recordings with her of phrases in Swabian, and that's what I'd like to bring into the German courses because she enunciates pretty well. It's clear to see the differences. This is at Neuschwanstein, which is Cinderella's castle, Crazy Ludwig. And this is in the south of Germany in Allgäu, which my host father said is kind of like fairy tale land Germany. Rolling hills, cows and cowbells out there. They make cheese, they have great beer, castles all over the place, that kind of stuff. This is a Wald kindergarten, which is a forest kindergarten. My host aunt and uncle sent their daughter to this place. All the classes are in this hut in the forest when it rains only. Otherwise, they're always outside, stomping around in the woods. My host mother had a term, Reiskeksmutter, which is rice cookie or rice cake mother, kind of like the crazy alternative health foods people that send their kids to these kinds of things, all in good humor, of course. But it was pretty interesting to see the forest children, I guess. This is the inside of their hut. They said they barely spent any time in here. Mostly it was outside in the woods. I think it's a pretty cool idea. The Maibaum. English, it's maypole, I think. There's one of these at the end of the one-way in New Ulm. Anna said that each village erects their own Maibaum each spring, I believe, and while in May it would make sense. And there's kind of the long-standing Wettkampf. Yeah, it's a tradition, but not a conflict, but they try and... Yeah, competition, thank you. To see who can put up the highest one. So if you stand on a hill and there's villages all around, you should be able to see the Maibaume in each village. This, of course, is the Rathaus in Ulm. I spent a lot of time around this building because there's a main bus station coming out of there, and it was a 10-minute walk from my second internship. Down below, they have their very own Ratskeller. My welcome meeting with the city was there. It is not like our Ratskeller here in New Ulm. This one is a little bit more modern, kind of just a normal restaurant, which was, I thought, a shame. I really like the character that we have here in New Ulm. I think it's the best bar we got. Right next to the Rathaus is the public library, completely modern building. I was told that the citizens kind of rejected it at first. They wanted to keep the old historical inner city the same, but now that it's up, they like the juxtaposition between old and new. It's pretty cool. My supervisor at the city told me that about 80% of the inner city was completely destroyed during World War II from bombing. The Münster, however, was virtually untouched. And instead of a city like Friedrichshafen that rebuilt everything completely new as quickly as they could, the city of Ulm went back to their old plans and rebuilt everything as it was to hold on to that, hold on to the architecture, the small streets, cobblestone, those kinds of things, to keep the charm of the city. Yeah, he was the first article that came out. We did an interview, Anna and I did an interview with 3 newspapers and a radio. Terrifying to do a radio interview in German. My God. It was so stressful. But they edited it in a way that I came out sounding all right, which was good. In this article, I talked about my work at the school and how at the end of every single presentation that I did in all the classes, the question about Trump came up. Try explaining that in German. So yeah, of course the newspapers wanted to ask about that too. What's the mood in the U.S.? It was a big question. But I always tried to steer away from politics. Not too interested. This was Wolfgang in Neusass. He bought veal, beef, and pork from the local butcher and made his own Leberkäse, which is basically seasoned, very finely ground meat. In this picture you can see there's a blade in the back of that bowl that rotates vertically, and the bowl spins, and he just rotates that until he has a nice smooth paste, which he loads into dishes, and that is the famous Leberkäse. Yeah, it's a really big food in Baden-Württemberg, and there's kind of a joke. You can go to a bakery with Leberkäse and ask for an LKW, which is the abbreviation for a semi-trailer. It's a Lastkraftwagen. Sorry, so like a wagon that can pull a lot of weight. So the abbreviation for Leberkäse would be Leberkäse-Wecker, and Wecker is a Swabian slang term for a piece of bread. So you get Leberkäse on bread. It's fun to have an out-of-towner with you and use that term, and they're like, what the heck are you talking about semi-trailers at the bakery for? The Althammers had kind of they were in between Swabian and Bavarian, which makes for a really interesting accent, but also some of their traditions were a little bit different. They had Mahlzeit, which is mealtime, but then also Brotzeit, which is bread time, and they would bring out these wooden dishes, so you could take uncut bread, cut them on your plate, and cut the cheese and all of that kind of stuff. Always pretzel. Pretzel was always available with that family, which I thought was awesome, and good beer. This is Wolfgang's Dreiling, his 3 caliber rifle. That was a break action rifle, and that's him walking out to his stand. So we went out around, I think it was past 9 o'clock already, and stayed out till around 1:30 or something like that. I'm used to deer hunting, going out, 5 or 5:30 or whatever, and sitting all day. So that was very, very different. Also a big theme in Germany is how densely populated it is. So we were out there hunting, and every once in a while there was somebody biking on the trail next to us, or somebody walking their dog. And I'm getting really nervous because I'm used to wide open fields, nobody around, be sure of your shot, be totally safe. And it was just, everything was a little closer together. The next village was a couple 100 meters that way. It was a really interesting experience with him. This is mackerel, Fischdeckel, I think he called it. So he had this grill custom made, and pieces of wood that he puts into the fish and grills them open, and they were so delicious. Apart from his hunting ground, he also had about 500 meters of Schmutter is the river that he could fish. So I also went out there fishing in the rain with him and caught a very, very small fish, and that was it. But it was still fun. He has so many hunting stories and just ridiculous stories. Never know if you should believe them or not, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so this is his son Steffen, and Wolfgang said, "Der ist mein Spielzeug." This is my toy or my plaything. Now that he's retired, he says he has time and money to give to this kind of thing. It is a single cylinder, I think it's a 1956 Eicher tractor with benches on the back, and I actually rode down to their garden cottage on the back, just straight through the village, nothing's wrong, with Steffen. It was pretty cool. Oh, do we have sound? Oh, it looks like it might not be going anyways. Oh, QuickTime is not installed. Oh well. We can maybe work that out at a later date. But the single cylinder turning over, it's like a train engine, chug, chug, chug away. It's pretty cool. And you feel it, it's so powerful. My second big expedition was into Austria to visit the Weinig family, Gottfried and Ernie. And Gottfried is the head of the Mineral Association in Bad Hofgastein, and he took me into the back of the valley, up the mountain, on a mineral tour. But like any good mineral man, he has an extensive collection at home. This is only a small portion of it. It was pretty crazy how much he had in his house. Everything polished, labeled, perfect. Had a lot of fun looking at all that. I thought it was really interesting. So we drove to the back of the valley and then hiked up this mountainside. It was a pretty cloudy day, a little chilly up there, and rain was coming in and out, in and out. Of course, I was in shorts and a t-shirt, well prepared as always. And there's a natural lake up here. There's two of them actually, and the city dammed one and uses it for hydroelectric power and drinking water. The spring water in the Austrian Alps is known for its purity and clarity, and the environmental regulations in Austria are insane because the country lives off of tourism is a big thing. So they do not want to sully their drinking water at all. So he said that up here in the mountains you could drink straight from the stream, no problem. Here's the second lake, and of course cows, like everywhere in Austria, beautiful. And we hiked up here to the top, and then we're perched dangerously on this ridge, digging into some quartz veins, looking for Bergkristall. That's into the neighboring valley, just amazing views everywhere. Yeah, the farmers bring their cows that are not milking or cows that have given birth recently up into the Alps for the summer and leave them there until it gets cold, then they come back up and bring them down. But they were just lazy lounging next to the path. And Gottfried said, "Dein Rucksack ist schlecht, ich habe dir einen mitgebracht." So, your backpack is bad, I brought one for you. And he gives me this neon pink hiking backpack, and I'm just thinking, okay, let's do this. Yeah, this is the Göppingen-Flensburg game where they upset them 31-27. And really fast-paced game. I've only played handball in high school in the U.S., but it's a bigger thing in Europe, especially with the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Netherlands, and some popularity in Germany. Yeah, the Ulm Timatis in Strasbourg, the French put on a mustache tournament. So we all who were capable, shaved their beards and kept their mustaches. It was terrifying. And then some of the guys, like Hannes here and Fritz, they dyed their mustaches blonde. So they were looking particularly good. But this was a crazy group, fun Germans, had a lot of good times with them. And they kept me in shape, which was also important. Was pretty much the only athletic activity that I did during the summer. Yeah, so this is the Staatsabteilung Umweltrecht und Gewerbeaufsicht. I was giving them presentation about New Ulm, and of course you got to put something in there about Bachfest. On the right is a going away party for a woman who was retiring, and I was a little surprised how willing they were to break out the champagne and at 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning, start celebrating. So this is Christina Schenk, who is my immediate superior. She is the geologist in the department. Waltrud was retiring. And then Herr Milz back here is the head of the Umweltrecht und Gewerbeaufsicht Abteilung department. And then Jeszek was the higher head, one up. So we had some of the big shots in the room who were drinking along with everybody else. Also Ausflug means excursion, like a day excursion, something you would do maybe on a Sunday with your family, something like that. Christina Schenk took me on so many of these in the 2 months that I was with the department. It's all the red dots on the map. So Ulm, Ravensburg, Friedrichshafen, Tübingen, Stuttgart, and Darmstadt, Rödemark up north. And most of these were going on to sites that were either previously contaminated and had been cleaned up, or that were undergoing remediation activities. And we got the whole tour and explanation, their methods, what was the contamination on the site, how were they dealing with it. Really very interesting because it's essentially what I do here in Minnesota as well. In such a densely populated country, often the only option is to build down or up rather than outward. So Tiefbau would be depth construction or deep construction. This was pretty crazy for me to see. I hadn't seen anything like this in Minnesota. A year before they even break ground, they come in with about 4 or 5 foot diameter hollow stem. Actually, it's just a rotating pipe kind of a thing. And they bore out all of these columns and fill them with rebar and concrete. And then they drill through each column, one at the bottom, one in the middle, and one at the top, and put a bundle of steel cables 20-25 feet into the ground at an angle, anchor it at the bottom, and then cap it on the outside so that you keep, one, the structural integrity of the wall, but also you keep groundwater out of the construction site. So depth construction or deep construction is pretty expensive, as you might imagine, but it's a necessity. This was right next to the main train station in Ulm. They're going to put in a underground garage, and then the S-Bahn is going to go over the top of that. So they were still in the process of tearing down the old structure on site, but we got a tour of the whole thing. The other option, apart from concrete, is sheet piling. This is at the main train station. They're putting in a new line between Ulm and Stuttgart. That's going to cut 15 minutes off of the travel time, which is very important because many, many people commute from Ulm to Stuttgart for work. They blasted out 2 tunnels, one to go to Stuttgart, one to go the other way, back to Ulm, through 6 kilometers of the Swabian Alb. There's a new law in Germany, well, I don't know how new it is, but that there must be separate tunnels for going and coming because there have been bad accidents, and if a tunnel is completely clogged, then you can't get to the wreckage that easily, and emergency crews, first responders can't get in there very easily. The reason they took another section out in the background, they put another section of sheet piling in, is because they found contamination on the limestone down here, the white Jura, Weiss Jura it's called. So they put another section of sheet piling in so the groundwater couldn't come in, and then they could send their workers down there to take it out and then flatten the surface so they could put concrete in for the track. These are the 2 tunnels going straight into the mountain. In Ulm, it's pretty flat. It's not even 10 or 15 minutes. On the north side of Ulm, you start getting into the Alb. So you start getting higher and higher hills, and they just went straight through it. They have worked with giant boring machines, but they opted to go with explosives for this one. So they just do it in several meter sections and keep going all the way through. A kind of unsettling but very interesting theme in Germany whenever you do any construction that is digging or any drilling, anything where you're going into the ground, you have to have someone out and do an initial investigation for weapons materials, for war materials. This is fight medium investigation, Kampfmittelerkundung, to look for unexploded bombs or munitions or scraps of metal like lead, anything like that might still be in the ground. So the first time I went out on a site and this was explained to me, it was a little unsettling because, yeah, somebody may have gone through and checked all this, but how sure can you be? And I'm standing right next to the drilling rig that's going into the ground. Bit different. Yeah, the Drachenbootrennen is an annual race where you get a team of people, sit them in a boat with a paddle. There's one person up front sitting on a chair facing the team with a drum that keeps takt, which is how fast you go and keeping everyone together. I forget the English word for it. They blow a whistle and everybody paddles their butts off. It is exhausting work. I went to one training and just about died, and 2 days later, at the height of my soreness, I did the race with the team. So we did 4 or 5 races on a Saturday. This is a video of it, which is not going to work, unfortunately. But yeah, you start off and you do about 20 paddles, very quick pace, and then they slow it down to a more measured pace as you do the last stretch. And it was a 200-meter race, which doesn't seem like much until you're sitting in a boat paddling. Yeah, and then it is quite exhausting. Yeah, the fabled Fischerstechen. This is a tradition that happens every 4 years. There are historical figures, political figures that are represented by all of these men walking past are holding what's basically a joust, and it is essentially jousting on water. So they get in boats. They have 3 men paddling and standing, and they stand on a platform at the back of the boat. The rowers or paddlers navigate the boats directly by each other, and then the 2 jousters, well, try and hit each other. And the one that goes in, or the one that hits the water first, is the one that loses. The man in the far boat actually won the tournament this year. He was a big guy, so in the last round he was going up against a kind of a smaller guy, and it just didn't really look too good for the smaller guy. They can only hold it with one arm. The other arm has to go on their hip, and I believe they cannot lean into it. They cannot dodge. There are rules for how you approach, how you hold it, how you joust, so that it's equal. And they just take it square in the chest. Sometimes there's some 1-foot balancing action, and then they fall in. Sometimes it's a rather strong backward push into the water. Yeah, there they are at the point of contact. This was a video of the finale, which again won't work, unfortunately. The banks were full, both sides. It was a pretty good atmosphere at the competition. Before every round, there is a drum roll. There are trumpets that sound, and then there's a drum roll that goes through the whole round. So, pretty cool feeling. On that Monday was the Schwörrede from the new Oberbürgermeister, Gunther Zich. It was his first year in after the previous mayor, who I think was in the position for 24 years. My host family told me that the previous mayor, he didn't have a script. He just kind of spoke from the heart, and he was a beloved figure in the city. So, first year for the new mayor, he's got a lot on his plate when it comes to the Schwörrede. So some people were a little bit critical that he stuck to the script, but it was a rather large Aufgabe, task that he had. So I don't think you could be too hard on him first year. And then that same day following was Nabada, which in the Swabian dialect basically means to go bathing down the river. It started as a pretty well organized water parade. Organizations would make floats and sail them down the river, and everyone would watch. And then somebody got the wise idea to get a bunch of their friends and a raft and have a water fight on the river, and it has evolved into this enormous event out of that. It was actually pretty cold on that day, so did go on the river, but a little later to kind of avoid the intense water fight that was going on. Maybe a little too measured. Maybe I should have dove in. Yeah. And this, I wanted to end with this picture because it, I think, brings it back to home for me at least. I think a lot of people have maybe a fantasy idea of what it means to be in Europe. But time and again, whether it was talking with people or seeing a tractor driving through the middle of the city, I was reminded about how similar Ulm and Neu-Ulm are to New Ulm. I found myself over and over saying, yeah, it's not that different here. So, cool to be reminded. Yeah. So, that is all I have for you tonight. Thank you for your Aufmerksamkeit. If you have any questions, I would be happy to field some.
Well, thank you, John. We're very proud to have you represent us over there and hope you had a great time. And with that, I know you've submitted a second article to the Journal?
Yes.
And, okay, and we'll have another one coming shortly. When,
Yeah, my first two articles I wrote them about kind of specific topics. I don't know if in the past the interns have been more broad with their articles, but I thought for my final that I would give more of an overview of my time and kind of the things that I was up to, the things that I did through the program and with my internships to give a better idea of what it means to go over there with the program.
perfect. That'd be great. Thank you. And our inbound is coming, and you met her a few times.
Yeah, I spent a good amount of time with her actually. She helped me with German, I helped her with English. It's always nerve-wracking going to another country and
Mhm.
operating at a professional level in another language, so yeah. And she took me to the handball game and stuff like that, so
Yep.
I'm excited
Wonderful.
for her to come over.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
We're going to have her here by September 7th so that she can be here for Herman Fest.
Yep.
So, all right, and I know on our inbound, Anna, we are working on options for the cell phone, and I think you also suggested it, John, that we could get her a SIM card or prepaid phone card.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the simplest thing to do. And I know Vicky is working on that right now. So she called me on the walk down here that she's got that pretty much planned out, and she can put it through her program. But apparently she can use her phone, and that app that's available too. I think you used it quite a bit.
Yes, WhatsApp is what
Yep.
many Germans use. From my understanding, she wouldn't be able to make calls or send texts, but she would be able to use any internet.
Yep.
So any Facebook messaging or anything that uses internet, she'd be fine with. Yeah, you can look at international plans, but they're extremely expensive, and I
Yeah.
think a prepaid card for a temporary stay is the best way to go.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, and Ms. Contrap has agreed to pick her up on September 8th in the afternoon and take her to Jensen Motors to meet with everybody. He usually picks them up, has Jensen go through the car, all the features. Hopefully she drives over there. She have a car?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She drives
So this
stick.
will be new. Yeah. And then he brings her down to the city office to meet with Lisa and the mayor, Bob, to introduce him to her, and then we should have her, we'll meet with her and have her at her welcome reception on that following Monday, so.
Okay.
Park and Rec, we do have a pass for her, and I was gonna give that to Carolyn, because she's the first host family. We have 6 punches left, but when that's gone, they said not a problem, just let them know and they'll give her, they'll get another punch card for her. What else do we have? We did send a report to the contribution for Shell's Brewing Company so that they send the payment to Lisa, and then she divvies out the weekly stipends. I believe does she do 'em weekly or semi-weekly? I think it's
I think it's bi-weekly.
bi-weekly.
I
think so.
It's bi-weekly.
Okay. Vicky was talking about number 3C, select a commission member to speak at the 3M retiree meeting in March 2018 regarding the sister cities. She's in there, but she feels that she'd like somebody else to do the presentation on what we do here and what the sister cities is all about. Anyone interested in doing that or coordinating with Vicky to go?
Do we have a
Good.
date?
What's that?
Do we have a date?
March of 2018.
So we
So we
got
got quite a way,
Got
quite
time.
a, quite a bit of time. And she she said she put it on the calendar, just didn't want to do it. And then we just need a motion to reimburse Vicky for the purchase of the cardboard boats for the brat stand from New Ulm Wholesale in amount of $33.79.
You actually can't make any motions, you've lost your quorum.
Oh, we did. Okay.
We'll
Have to
yeah.
carry those to the next
We'll
meeting.
carry it to the next meeting then, yep, okay. So then we'll have to do E as well, right?
That could be an automatic, I think.
I
It's
think-
just a mistake.
Yeah,
It
what
doesn't
happened
really
was
show
is
up.
we replaced Sabrina's nameplate on the plaque due to her last name being misspelled. Yeah, I think we could just make that
Don't know if their fault or ours, but we just drop it off, so.
Sabrina was one of the inbounds a few years ago, and she came back for a week visit over Bavarian Blast and brought her father.
Oh,
And
cool.
stayed at Brian and Mary Lou's, and we hosted her as well, and we had a lot of fun just getting to meet her dad, and we took her down to the, and unbeknownst to us, we misspelt her name.
Lisa has a correction upstairs.
We do.
This is
You
the
do.
first I heard of the misspelling.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too. So probably send it to Lisa. I'll do the job of the plaques again
Okay.
like I normally do.
Sounds good. And then number 8, we have the Broadstand dates of August 18th and 19th. We have some positions filled, but we need help filling the rest of them. So if anybody will, I'll have her send that out to the Friends as well again, and see if we can't get that updated. It's going to be a Friday and Saturday. I think that was one of the challenges.
And I can
What
do
about
Friday
Saturday?
from 1 to 6.
Okay.
And I have 2 little helpers.
Okay.
They're gonna help.
Good. I think we'll get it filled. It just is a matter of, that's going to be coming pretty quick here.
Do you want me to let
And
Lisa
that's the
know?
weekend that is
I'll let-
piled up, so I
Yep.
see nothing.
Exactly. We'll get it, I think, if we just
Yeah.
can figure out who's here, and it's, for me, it's a little far away yet. So can we make a motion to
No, you
adjourn?
have to recess and the next meeting start with a motion to close this meeting.
We will recess for this meeting, and we will make a motion to adjourn at the next meeting when we have a quorum. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.